Let's talk about Brady.
Yep. Brady Giglio. It's ugly.
Promise you, all 246 district attorneys are enforcing Brady differently.
Yes.
Because there is zero consistency.
Yep.
Share a little bit about Brady with our
so
listeners.
Here's your law school class in 30 seconds.
Hey, Blue Grit Podcast. We are back this week with co-host Clint McNear and
Tyler Owen.
How you been, Tio?
Good. Hanging out. Getting ready for, this is my first year down in the old hill country with all the rivers and lakes and getting ready for that. Getting my dad bod ready.
There you go.
It's going to be a good time in the Western Front.
Dad bod in the Speedo. The hill country's
I don't know about all that.
that.
I don't know about all that, but I'm getting ready. It's getting, school's fixing to be out. Kids are getting excited. I'm sure like everybody else, I'm ready for school to be done. So hopefully all of our listeners, watchers, viewers, y'all's kids are doing great.
Y'all's kids, that's about Texan as you can get.
It's a little East Texan, actually. Excuse me. Y'all's children have done had an amazing school year like mine.
Police Week in D.C., May 11 through 15?
I think 13th, 14th, and 15th, somewhere in that range. You and I will be going.
Remembering our fallen?
It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time to honor those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. You've gotten to go, right? Once or twice before?
I went prior to Tmpa when we put one of my guys on the wall, and I've been 10 or 11 years ago as Tmpa.
I'm very much looking forward to it. We're going to be co-branding some stuff with Relentless, and I'm looking forward to going up there. It's going to be very, very, very emotional. So
it is definitely a bucket list to attend. Are we
going to hang out?
Possibly.
Okay. Well, I hope I'll hold you to it. Who we got on today?
We have on world famous, infamous, famous attorney from the Houston area, Bridget Truxillo.
You did it right. Truxillo. Yes.
I've been working on it. I practiced all
good
morning
job.
driving down here. I had 3 hours from Dallas driving.
Yeah. You nailed it.
Welcome on.
Thank you.
How was your drive in?
It was beautiful and pleasant. Only 2 hours and 15 minutes for me, so better. But I just love driving through the hill country. It's just so pretty.
You must live on the non-crazy side of Houston.
I do. Yes.
She was thinking about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had to think about it. But I live, on the west side of Houston, so it's so easy for me. From a driving perspective, it's perfect. It just hop right Beltway to 290. Wait, which way did I take? Because it doesn't take me 290. It took me I-10 to something.
I will say there's a stretch there on I-10 that I'm sure you've been to Louisiana.
Oh, I'm from Louisiana.
Okay, well then there you go. Their roads, how could I say this delicately without upsetting anybody? They're not the best.
In Louisiana?
Oh God,
they're horrible throughout the state.
Yeah, it's like driving on the moon. If I've never driven on the moon, but if I did, and I would feel like it would be driving like Louisiana.
I think it's one of the many problems the state of Louisiana has.
Yeah. So. There's a stretch on I-10 that is not fun to drive on.
No.
And I tend to drive a little bit over the speed limit. So.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I'm a good driver, I think.
So as soon as we end here in an hour, I'm headed to Galveston. What is that, 3 hours?
Yeah. Well, right. You're going to hit some traffic, my friend.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going to take you more than 3 hours. But 2 hours and 15 minutes to my side of Houston, 45 minutes to get through Houston, and then an hour, 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
For our non-Texan listeners, we have a bunch of people from outside Texas and outside the United States.
Wow.
You can drive, 12 hours across Texas and still be in Texas?
So when I moved to Texas from Florida, the same amount of time it took me to get from Miami to Texas, it would take me that same amount of time to get across Texas.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And 4 of it could be rush hour in Houston.
Well, I mean, if it's rush hour in Houston, you might as well just pull over.
Yeah.
That
is the worst traffic city in, I would say, America.
Well, but I was in Dallas in January for continuing legal education class, and the traffic there was outrageous. And I don't spend much time in Austin, but my understanding is that it's a bit congested.
Austin's bad too.
It is.
But Houston's just so big.
Yeah.
I mean, you go just from one side to the other side, even without traffic, is a good solid 45-minute drive. So you throw traffic in it and just hold on.
That's crazy.
We like to start each episode of, who the hell's Bridget?
That's a good question. So my name's Bridget Truxillo. Hi. I am an attorney.
Hi, Bridget.
Thank you. I live in Houston, Texas. I'm not from Texas. I lived in Florida for 15 years, which is where I'm an attorney now. I've been an attorney for a long time. Before that, I was a deputy sheriff in Florida. Well, yes, before I became an attorney. I went to the University of Florida for college. Go Gators. Anybody watching? I'm a proud member of the Gator Nation.
All right.
But
Born in Louisiana?
Born in Louisiana.
That's shocking.
I'm from the South. I was born in Louisiana. I've lived in Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, back to Louisiana. And then I went to the University of Florida. A week after I graduated, I went to the police academy, ended up working for Alachua County, which is where Gainesville's in Alachua County, which is where the college is. And then when I quit, I went to a small Catholic university for law school in Miami, North Dade, for anybody that's familiar with the area. Also, my dad lived in the Keys at the time, so when
not a bad gig.
No, when I was broke
Wow.
as all get out in law school, I would just go spend my weekends with my dad,
Roughing it.
roughing it on the boat, going dolphin fishing. But
Wow.
it was not awful.
Yeah.
He doesn't live there anymore, sadly. He's still in Florida, but just not in the Keys. But yes, and then I moved to Texas for my now husband, so I blame it on him.
It's all his fault.
It's all his fault. Otherwise, I would be living in Florida on the water with a boat in my backyard. And I always say, but this is okay too.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
What is the Netflix series that it's the family, the guy's a cop, and the brother's a piece of shit, and he ends up killing the brother?
Is that based in the Keys?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right? Where they got the beautiful beach in the background?
Yeah.
Is it Bosch?
No.
No.
I'll tell you the name of that one too. And you're gonna get hooked on that one too. I'm bad about feeding my buddy here a series to watch, and he gets hooked on them.
I'm on Suits right now.
I haven't watched that one.
It's really
Oh, you're an attorney. You'd like that one.
It's really
Yeah.
good.
I have an addiction issue in the sense that once I start something, I cannot stop.
I have that similar addiction.
So if I get into the show, I have 3 kids that I will start ignoring and not feeding them dinner or bathing them. But my kids are a little bit older. Thankfully, they can feed themselves sometimes. But sometimes I'm afraid to get into a series because I can't control myself.
I
I can understand that.
Yeah.
So, growing up, what led you down the law path?
That was by default. I went to, like I said, University of Florida. I actually have a degree in horticulture, plants.
Wow.
We'll talk about that on another episode. I'll tell you, help all your plant problems. Just
All
kidding.
right.
It's been a long time since that
Yeah, I knew what that was. I'm glad you specified that for the listener out there, what
For
that
Leighton,
degree was in.
That'll help
Plants.
Leighton understand.
Yeah.
Yep. When I came time to graduate, I didn't really want to. So I was in my 4th year of engineering at the University of Florida, and I didn't want to do I didn't have any idea what I was choosing when I chose it. And then realized I didn't want to be an engineer. And then so I changed my major. I was agricultural and biological engineering. I switched it to the college. The horticulture was still in the College of Agriculture. I wanted a job that was outside. I just couldn't picture myself being in an office for the rest of my life. And then I came time to graduate, and well, crap, I don't want to grow celery for the rest of my life. Because my specialty, my degree was mass production of celery or poinsettias, or I just couldn't imagine. That just sounded like the most
Marijuana.
monotonous. Or marijuana,
Yeah.
So, and then what am I going to do with my life? And then decided to do law enforcement. And I thought I wanted to do FBI or something federal, and I went through the local route to become hopefully federal someday. But no one in my family's ever been in law enforcement before. My dad thought I was nuts. Many times in my life he's thought I'm nuts. But and I wanted a job. I chose law enforcement partially because I thought, normally, it's active, it's outside, it's not just an office job. And also I thought I wanted something that required me to be fit, because at the time I was working out and active, but I was in my 20s, and I thought, well, I don't know if I'll always be motivated for this. But if I get a job that makes me be fit, that'd be great. Of course, I became a cop and realized you don't have to be fit for that job. You should be, but a lot of people are not. And so that's what led me to law enforcement. And then and my story with that is I was a deputy sheriff. I did patrol for about a year. Then I went to the undercover narcotics unit for the rest of the time for a little over 3 years. And right after I got on the narcotics unit, I also got on SWAT team. So I was the only female member of SWAT. And because I was the only female member of SWAT team, I quit law enforcement. And that's what led me to becoming an attorney. So while I figured it's all the law, it was not my plan to become an attorney. And even that journey's changed a lot. I did not like it very much. I got a job so I could start to pay back my bills. That's when I moved to Texas. And then about 4 years ago is when I just finally couldn't take the law firm life and decided it was just time for me to, I knew I wanted to help, even though I quit law enforcement because of my experiences there. I knew I wanted to help cops again someday. I still believe in the mission of what we're all supposed to be doing. And I say we because I was in it. I still include myself.
Yep.
And so this is my way of, I want to help cops live a happy and life and try and balance what the job does to them. And my way of doing that is helping with the problems they face at work. So I specialize in employment-related issues for law enforcement and first responders. I have non-first responder clients, but I specialize in law enforcement just because, I mean, I know the world, I've lived it, I've walked it, I can talk it. So that's the long way of answering leading me to the law question.
We got a legal call the other day. I don't know if it was Clint or another field rep, but just touch on, talk to the member, for those in law enforcement that are listening or watching, talk about how crucial it is to, if they are in an event that they believe that they are either under investigation, facing an internal affairs, how important it is to either reach out to Tmpa or seek legal immediately prior to giving a statement, prior to talking to internal affairs, because we see that often. I think people are scared from an association standpoint. I think people don't. They think that when they call, they waste our time. That's the perception on their end. I don't want to call those guys. You know, they got better. But then the reality is that we all have the mindset here that, and we work for them. I mean, they're our customers, right? And so talk about how crucial it is for somebody to do that and the mistakes that can be made if they don't.
Well, first, as I will say, your mistakes begin when you don't call someone right away. I mean, right away. You are going to say something you shouldn't say. You're going to not say something you should say. You're not going to stand up for yourself in some way you should. Because I know from experience, because I was investigated by internal affairs too, if you're in the job long enough, it happens to you. I think if you're a good enough cop, you sometimes step in it and you're going to be investigated, and it's all good if you do do the right things. But it has to happen right away for so many reasons. One is that while you might think you know all the law, you don't know all the law. And I'm saying it to so many cops out there. You think, well, you might know criminal law, and you might know what murder is, or you might know if I can give somebody this speeding ticket, or if it's reckless driving, or whatever. But that does not mean you know civil law. I'm sure you do not know your federal employment rights. And so right away, you should contact somebody. I'm a huge proponent of, I say all the time, I do not take the place of your union lawyer. Your union lawyer will do things for you that you already pay for that you do not have to pay for me. And yet, as you guys are aware, there's certain things union lawyers don't do, like file a harassment discrimination claim with the EEOC or the TWC for here in Texas, or eventually a lawsuit for that. You guys don't do that part of it. I mean, granted, Tmpa can cover part of that, but I work with union lawyers all the time. I have talked with several Tmpa lawyers in Texas, and the point being, right away, if you need to protect your rights from the very beginning, you're not going to know exactly what those rights are. That's my job. That's y'all's job. And you at least should call and say quickly, like, here's what's happening. Should you help me? Or should Bridget, as me, like, should I hire you to help me? And certainly with you guys, absolutely. Another piece I think that's so important about what you guys do is that, like, when I was in this situation, I was a different union. Maybe I'll just leave the name out. Still don't regret being in the union, because I had, if I'd ever been indicted, they would have represented me.
Right.
But they offered me no help whatsoever in the issues I was facing inside my department, because the guy that I would have called on was kind of part of the problem. What I love about what you guys do is that you are external, and they can call you, and they don't have to worry about somebody hearing what you're saying.
Yep.
And so I think for multiple reasons is call somebody outside your agency if you're worried about somebody hearing about you seeking help. If you're worried about retribution or retaliation, if you do call one of us, all the more reason why you should talk to one of us. Because if you're worried about retaliation, you need to be covering yourself and getting that story out and talking to somebody who's experiencing it from the very beginning. And another big, huge piece of that is because you are going to need support through this. If you start to report something or make a claim, they might come after you harder. They might retaliate against you. You're going to get scared. You're going to get freaked out. You might say, never mind. But I promise no matter if those things happen, it's going to affect your mental health negatively. and you need somebody there to support you, to encourage you, and to cheer you on and say, no, this is not right. We need to fight back on this. This is how we're going to do it, and I'm going to help you through it, whether that's me or you guys. But yes, 100% right away call somebody to get help and support.
In our legal plan, just for clarification to the listener out there, we get I would probably guess 3 to 4 phone calls a day, and we're fixing to touch on this. Our legal plan follows the ERISA trust. It's outlined. It's on our website. You can look at it. The board of directors, things can be appealed to them through our legal plan. But if a member is going through a situation to file a civil lawsuit, that's not really in our bread and butter. Okay, our bread and butter is going to be criminal. It's going to be administrative. That's not really what Tmpa. We on the civil side, if you're being sued, that's something that our legal plan is going to cover. And so what we will do is refer our members to private practice attorneys such as her. So when she says stuff like that, it's just, and all these stuff again is outlined in our legal plan there on our website. Clint, because we talked about this the other day.
There are proactive suits that we take where the board approves funding for proactive suits.
Yeah.
Those are reviewed and made above mine and your level. One thing I'd like to hit on, you brought up, people call and harassment in the workplace or discrimination. Mm-hmm. We get a lot of calls, and to your point where you said cops, we feel like we know the law, and we're really good at some things in the law, and there's some part, as you referred to, that we're not. Help for our listeners to understand what is and is not discrimination, what is and is not harassment, and with all of your experience, so that they understand just, my sergeant's mean. Well, that's not harassment, or it's not discrimination.
Yeah.
Tyler's mean to me every day, and it's not discrimination.
Mm-mm.
I don't think. I'm not sure.
No.
I feel like it's age discrimination sometimes.
It could be that, and if you're over 40, then
I'm barely.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm not yet.
Barely.
39.
Oh, you're all just but babes. I'm almost a decade. Probably am a decade older than you. That just sucks.
I'm 51, about to be 52.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're older than me. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually the
Thank
oldest
you
in
for
the
that.
room.
Thank you for that.
I didn't know you were older than me, so that's good. Okay, demonstration. I promise I'm a lawyer. Discrimination or harassment. Discrimination is not, my boss is a jerk. You made a mistake and you got written up for it. So did I. I made mistakes and I got written up for it. That's not discrimination. However, discrimination comes in when you are being written up significantly more than other people. And
For similar conduct.
What?
For similar conduct.
Correct. And that's what it's called, disparate treatment. That's a term of art. I use it all the time. If I'm drafting something for you, I will put that this person received, quote unquote, disparate treatment, and I will outline how that happened. Now, sometimes it's explicit. It could be as bad as have sex with me or you'll never get promoted, or a chief asking a female about her sex life with her husband, which you should never do. Also, that chief shouldn't have recorded the conversation and put it in her employee file. Thank you very much, chief. But but there's the non-explicit versions of it, which is, yes, did you make a mistake? But I'll tell people all the time, I'll be in a room full of people, raise your hand if you've never made a mistake. However, your mistakes can't be more significant than others. If you made a mistake for handling a weapon without gloves on, of course that violates a policy. You've potentially tampered with evidence or messed up the evidence. But if you're written up for it and demoted for it and moved from day shift to night shift and taken away an extra title that now you make less money, but a coworker does the same thing and nothing is said to that person, that's when it becomes discrimination. The harassment, again, it becomes disparate treatment. Are you being treated differently than for some reason? And it has to be a federally protected or a state protected defined reason, meaning gender, age, religion, injured status, something like that. And you can look it up, you can Google it, and you can find if you think it's for this reason, you better show it's disparate treatment, or you better have an explicit statement or action that you can say this and then that, this and then that. It's not, and I experienced it too, it is not a sergeant that you just can't stand, or a sergeant who just, some people just don't get along. I say all the time, you can be fired for any reason or no reason. They can fire you because they don't like your watch. I don't like you. You just get on my nerves. But it can't be because you're a girl or because you're black or because you're, because you got hurt and you're on injured status and I don't like that and now I'm going to retaliate against you. So there's lots, I can go on and on with examples, but it can't be for one of those statutorily defined reasons. But just being a jerk is not that. Getting passed over for a promotion is not that. I mean, it could be depending on the facts, but I mean, my sergeant and I did not get along, but that's not made my issue the problem.
Yeah.
In disparate treatment for our listeners, if Bridget has a negligent discharge and gets a verbal counseling, and a month later Tyler has a negligent discharge and gets a verbal counseling, and then I have a negligent discharge and get 6 days off without pay,
Right.
I'm getting treated a little bit different
Yep.
than they are for some reason. And when you look at the facts, maybe I've had 2 prior negligent discharges. Well, there you have the 6 days off.
Yeah.
But you look at all things and all facts are the same. We've never had one before. We have no discipline history. Something doesn't smell right. Something isn't correct there.
Yeah, and I also like to tell people a lot too that this is not always male against female. It's not always black versus white. I have a case, a girl, and because I advise on cases outside of Texas because this is based on federal law, and a girl outside of Texas was discriminated against because she's a female by a female sergeant who would blatantly say, I don't want to work with women. Women shouldn't be in this job. I don't want you on my shift. I don't want any females.
Wow.
Also, she kept saying, you're way too young for this. You should never have been given this job. And in her state, you can have age discrimination under the age of 40. In Texas, you can't. But, so you know your state. And, you know, if anybody ever has any questions about that, I'd be happy to direct you in the right place if you're outside Texas. But, or you can Google it. But, my point being, it's not always what you think, well, but it's just for women against. No, it's not. The majority of my clients are men. That in the law enforcement world, women still are by far the minority. So there are still more men dealing with these problems than females. And of course, I have a lot of female clients because they know I get their situation, but it's not exclusive to women at all.
And would you say harassment, and the only thing I can compare it to, I used to work stalking cases, people call and go, well, my husband drove by my job, so you need to file stalking. And I'm like, driving by one time probably is not going to rise to the level. Is harassment something similar? Can there be one single incident? Or do you need to show at least some minimal pattern of behavior that constitutes actual harassment?
In the legal context, you either have the explicit example, which could be one thing,
Oh,
or you
I got
have
you.
the
Okay,
circumstantial evidence case you have to put together, which I think everybody in this context and that's listening probably understands circumstantial evidence. So you either have to build the picture by multiple events, or you can have the one statement, like the chief who asked the female about if she's still having sex with her husband. That one's pretty explicit.
But does every civil case need to be punitive?
No, in fact, that's a good question. Especially in somewhere like Texas, you don't get punitives
Hear
against
that?
the government.
You hear her say that?
I didn't think it was a great question, but anyway.
So
Thank you.
I'm not aware of any states that do allow punitive damage. There could be, maybe somewhere like California. And I know you just had a guest on who's from California, and I'm just going to ding. I was kidding. But certain states can have a piece of it, but in general, there's the public policy, and I believe in the public policy against punitives against the government because that's taxpayer dollars, and we all know there's not enough of that to go around already. So then why would you want to give away even more of it? And even if they're paying into a risk pool, most agencies pay into whatever their insurance plan is. Sometimes it's called a risk pool or whatever. Ultimately, it's insurance to cover for their liabilities. They don't cover things like punitives anyway. But in general, you can't get punitives, but you could still get compensatory damages. Compensatory meaning money damages. But that's also something I talk to people about a lot. I think a lot in general with law enforcement is the majority of people who come to me or probably even reach out to you, they don't necessarily, they probably don't want to sue. They just want the problem to stop. Like if I would have called you guys, I would have said, I just want to be a SWAT operator. I just want to be an investigator. Like tell them to just leave me, make them stop. Let me just do my job and be respected as an operator, respected as an investigator. And it's just, that's what you want. So a lot of times there's so many things you can ask for that have nothing to do with getting all the way to a lawsuit and getting money. And in most cases, and especially in general in Texas, you're going to have to file a lawsuit if you want money from somebody.
I think it's a good point. We're going to jump on it quick, and I'm going to try to tackle it myself. Feel free to jump in. But that's one great point that she was talking about, the punitive aspect, is that let's say that I'm disciplined, or a situation at work where I am transferred. We get a lot of transfer calls. Hey, I've been transferred from days to nights. I've been transferred out of CID to patrol. And it's not equal treatment, just like we talked about. Mm-hmm. So one of the number one questions that we asked said member or said caller is, have you had loss of wages? Has there been any loss on your side of it? That's what our general counsel has kind of directed us to ask. Mm-hmm. And 9 times out of 10, there's not. I mean, because they're still making the same wage. What do you say to the listener out there that's on night shift, receiving a increased? Some departments have this where they get a bonus for being on nights, they get an extra stipend for being on nights, and they get transferred to day shift, and it's not that equal treatment. Could that be considered the punitive damage under like a civil case, depending on like a discriminatory lawsuit?
I would say that reframe that just a bit to say that I would never want to frame it punitive in the sense that is the department trying to punish them in some way or make an example of them, or just or is it discriminatory or retaliatory in some way in that being the reason why they move? Are they moving you as punishment, that being the punitive part, and knowing that you're going to lose money from it? Could that be a piece of a case that I would get involved in an employment perspective? Yes. But again, it's really the typical lawyer answer would be, well, it depends, because it depends on the facts of your situation. Right. Like you say, if we all get a letter, LOR, a letter of reprimand in our file, or whatever you call it at your department, or a performance plan or whatever, and all facts being equal, and we all have, didn't happen to you, didn't happen to you, or didn't happen to me, or it happened to Clint and you and I, then why did it only happen to him? And is it a racially motivated thing? Is it a gender motivated thing? Is it a religion motivated thing? That could be a factor that you could use. And also, I do ask that question a lot too, but have you lost any money from this? I always, one of the very first questions I ask people is, how you want me to help? What is it you're wanting to get out of this? Because if you're coming to me saying, I want the chief fired, I think they owe me $2 million because I didn't get this promotion. If I would have had the promotion, I would have made it to sergeant, I would have made it lieutenant, and this is how much salary I would have gotten. I'm like, look, that is so speculative. You wouldn't, even if you won at trial, you probably wouldn't win on those points. Right. And so it's just there's two things it's very fact specific, and also you have to know, what is it you're wanting out of this? Are you just wanting back on nights and you want the money? I have even this chart that I will share with people. It's like, here's all the different things you could ask for. Do you think somebody should be extra training? Do you think that somebody else should get punished with, LOR in their file, or dinged or demoted? I mean, there's all kind of stuff you can ask for. It really is, what is happening with you? Can I prove either that you have an explicit or pattern of behavior that show that you're being treated unfairly and you shouldn't have been? And if it hasn't something to do with money, then yes, that helps your case. If you did this on purpose, and I have a lot of cases like that where I have a female out of El Paso where she was demoted, and now it's a 6-figure difference up till now, and we're just trying to get her position back. But while they're ignoring us, the damages are growing because she's lost 6 figures in income. So that all can matter, and it also just depends on. Well, it just depends.
Yeah.
Sidetrack. EEOC complaint. Mm-hmm. We get a lot of people call, and they'll go, hey, I'm ready. I've got a great, great case. I'm so ready. I'm going to win big because I just got a right to sue letter.
Oh, my gosh. I would say this. I turn away cases if they come to me with their right to sue letter for many reasons. One, you probably made a crap claim to start with because you think you said enough. You probably didn't. And as you guys know, any lawyer knows, once you become somebody's attorney, it's hard to not be their attorney. That I have a fiduciary duty to take care of them. I can't just say, no, I don't really like you anymore. I quit. I can't just leave them hanging. And so if you're saying you have a right to sue letter, which means we're going to court, and once I file a lawsuit for you, I really almost can't. I mean, you could fire me, but it would be very difficult for me to get out of that case.
Draws counsel.
Right.
It's difficult.
It's difficult. And because then you have to find someone else to take the case. Most attorneys don't want to get involved in a case that's already been filed because it could be messy, and like, I don't want to step in somebody else's malpractice dump. But so if you come to me with a right to sue letter, I mean, I'm still going to have to start from scratch. And you probably didn't say everything you needed to say to start. And have you even tried to negotiate with your department? And once you get this right to sue letter, you have 90 days to file a lawsuit. And that doesn't leave much time to, like, what do you need to do? What do you want to ask for? Could we negotiate with the agency? Because once you file a lawsuit, and I tell people this all the time, you need to understand that it is not easy to sue the government. They have lots of tools in their belt that can delay it either forever, get it dismissed, and you're not going to be able to afford that lawsuit because most attorneys will not take a case like this on a contingency fee basis. Yep. I do not work on contingency fee for all the reasons I just said. I talked to I know an attorney of the Dallas area who did win a case against a police department, but it took 7 years, and he has said he will not do it anymore. That because of that 7 years, he's funding it that whole time, and it's gambling. He's taking a gamble that he will get paid on it someday, and most attorneys can't afford to fund a case for that long because it takes their time that they can't devote to something else. Where we all need to put money in the bank, you know. So I tell people, like, be very sure that you want to actually sue. But that's why I always say there's so many things you can do before that have nothing to do with a lawsuit. Let's start to have a conversation. Let's say, here's all the things we think you did wrong, agency, but let's come to the table and talk about it and see where we can maybe, even if you do want money, let's see how much money you want. Let's just start to ask for some things and see if we can make some headway. And if not, maybe you do need to file a lawsuit. But you hear about, well, I saw this so-and-so, especially recently. I know that girl that just recently got $500,000 from her department. Well, first of all, what state was it in? Second, I don't know any of those facts. I mean, there might have been some really bad facts against the department if they were willing to pay $500,000. And the fact that everybody knows so quickly that that's how much she got paid and that wasn't part of the non-disclosure agreement. So I just hate when people say, oh, I know that girl got $500,000. I think I can get that too. Like, you probably can't. Yeah. But like, a lot of it is I'm being Debbie Downer for people. And yet I still refuse to be a Debbie Downer all the time because I still think you can get something. Because I think really what you want is you want to do your job. You want them to leave you alone. You want to just be able to, just perform and help your community for all the reasons you became a cop in the first place. And it's just not always going to result in money.
Well, and I don't think Debbie Downer maybe is being realistic.
Yes, but I
giving people realistic expectations. Because the question I was going to ask is, I feel like right to sue, people misunderstand that letter.
Mm-hmm. Because right to win.
Oh, my gosh.
It feels like everybody gets one. So it's not like it's this highly coveted, scrutinized letter that means you have the golden egg.
All that means is they looked at the statement you gave them, they didn't investigate it at all, and they think, this might be enough. Get out of my office. Mm-hmm. They are so overworked. And I know, at least in Texas, they're trying really. Every division of the EEOC is run different. Somebody's running it differently. Like the Houston office, for example, they have a former military guy, and he's running it, trying to right the ship, trying to as efficiently as possible tell you if they think you have a claim. But the EEOC, the way it can go is you file your claim, they look at it, and they see the facts, and they either are going to. Well, three things can happen. You have nothing; it's completely dismissed. You can, we think you have something, but here's your right to sue letter. You go do it with your time and resources.
Preponderance of the evidence.
Yeah, we have
50.1%
sure. Okay. But they're not even going to say that. Or they'll say, oh my gosh, this is so bad, we're going to sue for you. We're going to sue these people. We'll take care of it. That, I have never seen one.
My wife did.
Really?
Yeah. She was pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
And
it happens.
Let her go. And they did it for her.
The EEOC did?
Yeah.
Wow.
But it doesn't happen that often.
No, yeah.
It's the first one I've heard.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah, I thought you knew that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
I was
wondering why you are so rich.
Shit. We didn't get much. We got a couple months of salary, rightfully so, because she was pregnant.
Right. I mean, it's not always like winning the lottery. They're just trying to make you whole, your compensatory damages.
Well, and I stupidly thought that this was a common practice. So when I was referring members over there until I was talking to Clint brought them into an in-service training. And so when they came, I was talking to them one day about the situation, and they were like, yeah, that's not how this works. No. And so I found out really how minimal really that really is. So
right.
it kind of shocked me.
The right to sue letter, there's been no investigation. It does not mean that you have like super strong facts. And a lot of times, somebody, like I say, I'll turn down a lot of those, especially if they're not law enforcement, just because my time and resources are, it's not unlimited. And you're still, if you have a right to sue letter, the way I work is you're still going to have to pay me to review it all and see if I still have to review it to see if I think you have a case. And it might be no. I mean, so they don't investigate that. You can even now that they have a new portal for if an attorney files for you, that I don't know what it looks like on the plaintiff side. I mean, the complainant side, but as attorneys, it's all an online form. I can put in all the facts, and then right away I can click a little box that says, would you like to skip the whole process and get a right to sue letter? If I click that box, I'll get a letter in 2 weeks.
Wow.
I mean, in the Houston office. So the Houston-based EEOC office, which they also take care of all of Louisiana. So they still have a lot to take care of.
Yeah.
What they're doing is just moving claims out. They don't want to say that you don't have anything, but they didn't look into it. I mean, so you getting a right to sue letter does not mean that the EEOC investigated it and that you're going to win.
Okay.
Trying to think what else.
Shift gears again.
Yep.
Let's talk about Brady.
Yep. Brady Giglio. It's ugly. It's
Bad.
ugly. It's bad.
For our listeners, there's 254 counties in Texas. I think there's a couple of DAs that cover multiple counties, so there's like 246 district attorneys, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I promise you, all 246 district attorneys are enforcing Brady differently.
Yes.
Because there is zero consistency.
Yep.
Share a little bit about Brady with our listeners.
So here's your law school class in 30 seconds.
Awesome.
Just kidding. Brady and Giglio are two, you guys may know this, so this is for anybody who doesn't know. Brady and Giglio are two U.S. Supreme Court cases that mostly and partly define a criminal defendant's rights in trial. So obviously we do not want somebody going to prison that shouldn't be there. I believe in that. I'm a super dork when it comes to I believe in constitutional law. I believe in the separation of executive, legislative, judicial branches of our government. I believe in it completely. Is it perfect? No. But this one defines the rights of a criminal defendant. If the prosecution knows of evidence that could help a defendant defend themselves and not go to prison, they have to turn it over. It's also called exculpatory evidence. That could include evidence that the cop who investigated the claim did something wrong, violated policy, broke chain of command, tainted evidence, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, that's a federal case law. It's interpreted state by state, county by county, city by city, chief by chief, sheriff by sheriff, DA by DA, prosecutor by prosecutor. Even federal prosecution offices don't have the same rules office by office. Sometimes it's called a Giglio list. Sometimes it's called Brady. Let's just say Brady Giglio to make it simple. But the point being, like you said, there's no uniform way in which Brady Giglio is applied, defined, taught, or educated. I would say the majority of, and I have officers call me across the country because I try and help, but the way that I try and help is, I look at, was this used as like an employment-related violation? Was it harassment, discrimination, retaliation? Sometimes it's a politically motivated thing.
Oh, yeah.
And that I try to help officers who are on the Brady list Brady Giglio list, look at it from a public relations perspective, and I try and help them figure out who else can we talk to try and educate the people involved about why this person shouldn't be on the list. Call DAs, and this is the sad part about it. You say there's multiple ways they can get on the list, but ultimately it's a DA who has to, or prosecutor, I'll just say DA to make it faster, who will decide that you are somehow not trustworthy and put you on a quote-unquote list. Sometimes it's a database. Sometimes it's something they keep internally. Sometimes it's a letter that they send out to every defense attorney in the jurisdiction saying, we will not be calling this person anymore because they think this person's a liar. Your chief or sheriff then says, well, you can't do your job if you can't testify, so you're fired. Brady's attached to you forever, and you can never get a job again in law enforcement. Sadly, there are chiefs who decide, well, what you just did was Brady. I'm going to send the letter to the DA. The DA looks at it and says, okay, then, I'm not a chief of police and might be a little bit intimidated by the chief of police and say, well, if he or she says so, Okay, then I'll just put them on the list. I'll call them and say, well, hey, can we talk about why you put this person on the list? They'll say, well, you got to talk to the chief because the chief said I should. No, the chief's the one that said I should do this. I'll call the chief, and if they'll talk to me, they'll say, well, the DA's the one that put him on the list. I'm like, I know, but you're the one that told him. And ultimately, everybody around the country should have a Brady Giglio class where they learn what it is and what it's not. It's not a mistake on your application where something that you did 25 years ago, which shouldn't even count anyway because of the time frame. Like I was wrong about that award I got in junior high that I put on my application. I mean, I know somebody who's been Brady'd for that. That's not the same thing as lying intentionally to get a search warrant to get into somebody's house, which happened in Houston not so long ago. That is what Brady is for.
Yep. Credibility and integrity and honesty is what it's supposed to be tied to. Not that, well, one time you wrecked a car.
Right.
Okay, well, that doesn't make the
That's
officer any less credible or his veracity. You know, there's no challenge to the veracity. But the unique part about Brady, two things. One, it's weaponized frequently.
Yep.
It's used as a weapon. But the damn horrible freaking side of it is, if I get in trouble, I can go to T. Cole and challenge T. Cole to keep my license. If I file a complaint on you at the bar, you have a right to be heard in some sort of due process to defend yourself and to fight for your bar. Once you're on Brady,
Nothing.
there is absolutely no recourse whatsoever. The medical field has it. The law field has it. Everyone has it. But once somebody is deemed by God, you're a non-disclosure, you're Brady.
Yep.
In probably 70% of chiefs, it's an immediate death penalty for your career. We have a few chiefs that are like, screw them, that's crazy.
Yep.
You know, you can go hide over here and work these cases or whatever. But for someone to lose their entire career, their paycheck, and have zero recourse, when often it's a weapon because there's a political or a personality issue, it's absurd.
It is. You're 100% right. I truly think it's a 14th Amendment violation of the U.S. Constitution. And if I had all the time and money and resources in the world, I would put a team of people together to start arguing this. But it would have to be argued everywhere.
Yeah.
That you don't have to be notified that you're put on the list. There's no
That's
right.
a great point.
There's no right to appeal it.
We'll get a phone call and a member's like, just found out I've been on the Brady list for 10 months in my county and can't.
Right, and I can't get a job, and I just found out why.
Yep.
Because that's not all. They don't always publicize the letter, depending on, like you said, in the state. As you know, they tried to bring some legislation forward in Texas, I think last year on the issue, and not only do you get a lot of pushback from different factions, but part of the problem is, let's say you get a law that states they exist in some states, not very many. I think I'm aware of two.
Ohio and one other, I think. There's two or three, not many.
It might be Indiana. I can't remember. But they have a law that is basically about notice and appeal. So you're supposed to get notice that you're on it and a right to appeal or to clear your name. However, there's no teeth to it. But what happens if you prove you never should have been on the list in the first place? Who gets in trouble? What are the consequences for those people? You're never going to get the prosecutor or DA's association to agree to say, oh, yeah, we agree to be punished if we do this wrong. Yeah. No. Plus, you cannot sue. You can file a complaint against a prosecutor, but they have prosecutorial immunity, which is almost stronger than qualified immunity.
Wow.
You cannot overcome it's almost impossible. Not impossible, but close to impossible to overcoming prosecutorial immunity. And so that's what I say is I look at it and say, okay, well, what could we do to try and convince people, like, should they, at least review it and see if the person shouldn't be on there. Some DAs won't even do that. Some do. There's somebody out of Washington, that the office where he was Brady'd out of, once a month they review it, and he managed to get his name off the list. Sadly, it's still in the file. So it's as for law enforcement, and I think rightly so, you shouldn't be able to easily take things out of law enforcement officers' files. But once it's there, it's there. Just one little word. I have another guy out of Utah, and they had one word, the word Brady's in there one time. And after a year, he did just finally get another job. Huge pay cut, really small, whatever. But also, he was on my watch list. Like, he's not even my client. I had tried to help him for a little while, but he had no money, taking all his retirement out, about to lose his wife, about to lose his home. I literally thought he was on like my suicide watch list, where the last time I heard from him, it worried me so bad. Like, he's not even my client, but I'm calling him regularly, or I'm texting him. Like, he sent me an email last week telling me he got a job, and I was like, dude, I was about to start like harassing calling you. Because I was so worried that he was going down that slippery, dark path.
It's scary times. I mean, you're taking food off our table for no reason.
Yeah.
For political.
And there's nothing, and you feel like there's nothing you can do about it.
No.
I do try and help, like I said, more from like a PR perspective than a legal, because you can't sue anybody for it. I mean, some people have sued. There's a great series of articles about it by Val Van Brocklin for Police One. She's an attorney who's written a lot about it. She just refers a lot of people to me. She's out of Alaska. But there's another...
We should go visit her and do a podcast.
We should in Alaska in the summer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's
I got polar bears. I'm good.
Let's schedule that.
Yes, but it's not 118 in
That's true.
Alaska
That's
in
true.
the summer. But so some people sued for it and were able to prove that it was a 100% political motivation. Somebody like ran against somebody and they lost, and as soon as the bad guy won, he did something and got the loser on the Brady list, and he was able to prove, and he got like a good settlement, I guess, basically loss of salary. But that's not common. It's obviously hard to prove that somebody uses it for political purposes, and it happens all the time.
Well, and speaking of civil cases or cases like that of like appeals, look at House Bill 17 with the rogue DA bill and how that's going to play out. We don't know, what ramifications or how much teeth that really has. Right. So it's kind of interesting times right now with district attorneys. Clearly, there's a problem in Texas.
Yep.
We probably had more bills pertaining to DA conduct filed last session than any other session prior that I can think of.
Yep.
Agreed?
Yep.
And so there's an issue. So hopefully we can get it corrected.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll call you down. You can come testify.
I would love to.
And on the Brady issue, we're certainly not saying bad, dirty line cops shouldn't be held accountable.
100%.
But for any tool that can be a death penalty for somebody's career, there should be due process tied to it.
100%.
We had a member that got put on the Brady for calling in sick and going to a sports game and being seen on the sports game.
Like on the Jumbotron?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not.
That has nothing to do with a criminal defendant's
That's
rights.
right. That's right. That's right.
Should you be counseled if you have and then if you start to have a long history of lying and not being where you're supposed to be? Of course, that could be different. But one time, no, that is not Brady. That's nothing to do with a specific case for a specific defendant in that specific instance.
And it goes back into Clint saying that weaponizing for political situation. It's just bad.
Yeah.
It was in Harris County.
Ugh.
Kim Ogg.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Kim Ogg's office.
I
don't want to say anything because I don't want to endorse anybody.
Right.
But there's an election coming up in November.
There is. Yes. I've heard you guys had an opponent on the podcast recently.
A candidate.
Yeah.
A candidate, yes. We did have a candidate.
Yes, I'm just joking. I listened to it this morning. It was
great.
great.
It was great.
I thought it was a great interview.
Yeah.
I did like it.
Well, thank you.
It was very informative.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Made me a little bit less skeptical of what will probably.
That's exactly what having a conversation will do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think she meant of us, less skeptical of us.
Oh, okay, good. That happens too.
What do we not cover?
I mean, that's just. I think we covered it all.
We covered it all.
This is what I like people to know about me is, I want you to stay on the job. We all know that there's probably not a single department in this country that's fully staffed, and for many reasons, it could be political, it could be budgetary, definitely highly swayed by the political crap that's been going on for way too many years now, which, like you guys have said in a podcast, like this should have nothing to do with politics, and yet too often it is affected by politics. But I want to be able to do my part to be able to help you, because what I tell all the time, you can't change what law enforcement is. It's dirty, it's ugly, you see mean, you see violence, you see death, you see filth, you see all the things. I mean, I've walked out of houses, we could all tell stories, but one that's popping into my head right now is walking in when we were doing a narcotics investigation. I walk out and I'm just covered in fleas. That's a silly example, but I'll never forget. Or all the maggots that I had to dig through when we were in the narcotics unit, when we would do the trash pulls and try and blow. It was so good, just gross. Anyway, that's a little tiny piece. Obviously, it can be heinous and mean and the death and all that. But you can't change that. It's what law enforcement is. If that's what you're struggling with law enforcement and you're trying to blame it on a sergeant, like, no, then you need to evaluate your career choice.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have to face, and because of all those things you face, we all know you need to actively do things to try and make sure you're okay because of all the hard things that you face in the job. It's not fair that you face things inside your own department. It happens all the time, everywhere. And so while I do recommend highly that I think everybody should have a strong wellness routine and all that, and I don't want to sound all hippy-dippy about it, but take care of yourself. But I like, this is the way that I can help you, is I help with your legal problems because I want you to be okay. I want you to stay on the job. But you can't just ignore it. Just like you can't ignore the mental toll that it will take on you, not if, but will, then you can't ignore your anger management issues because of the mental toll. This is any more than you can ignore. I'll just ignore this problem I'm having at work because it'll go away. No, it won't. They won't fix what you're not telling them they should fix. I'm not saying it'll always be fixed, but you at least should tell them something needs to be fixed because it will wear on you. I've met so many, just career professionals, first responders, firefighters, law enforcement that call me in tears because they're 20, 25, 30 plus years in and they feel like that because of how they're being treated in their department that they feel like they don't matter. Well, I don't want that to mean in life.
Yep.
And I've talked with people who have committed suicide. I haven't talked to anyone that committed suicide.
Right.
But I know of people who have.
Near.
Or have attempted. And it starts, like, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back is, like, the how they feel their department is treating them and the harassment, discrimination, retaliation, whatever that's happening in the department. You can do something about that. And don't just take it. That's what that's why I'll step off my soapbox now. But that's my point of doing what I do is I just want you to know, do something for yourself. You can take control of this. It might get worse before it gets better, but do something and get help.
Well, you said you don't want to get all hippy-dippy, but we're in Austin, so it's okay if you want to be
well,
hippy-dippy.
we can just cross legs and have some incense and then start some meditation breathing. And I do believe strongly in meditation breathing. I also really believe strongly in yoga. Everybody should do yoga.
She'll fit in great.
I'm a firm believer in countdowns, I think you call them, where you, like, go find somewhere and lay down and it talks you through a countdown, like just for 10 minutes, and it's some calm, soothing, sexy voice, and
it
you kind
sends
of
your
get up
mind
and
elsewhere.
yeah, it's really. I never thought I would be hippy-dippy because I'm more kind of redneckish. We're kind of redneckish.
Yeah,
but
me
like
too.
a 10-minute countdown, I really like that.
You just go lay down and, like, how does that
No,
work?
you can Google, like, YouTube. Do
Okay.
like 10-minute meditation or 10-minute countdown or 15-minute countdown.
So what
and
I
like when your day goes to shit right in the
Yeah.
middle of a day, I friggin' push back from my desk and fold the laptop down, and I'll go get somewhere and sit down or try and lay down and turn it on or put earbuds in. And it walks you through just slow your breathing down, turn your mind off. It'll be some cool, soothing voice. And then it's like 10 or 12 minutes usually. And it just lets you.
Damn, I need to get that.
It lets
Well, I would
you
say
reset.
So a good resource for that is Yoga for First Responders. They teach yoga specifically with law enforcement, firefighters, first
Not sure I
responders
could
in
do
mind.
yoga.
I'm not talking about yoga, but one of the things they do is the breathing exercises.
Yes.
And that the scientific, the science, like there's science behind why that works. That by intentionally slowing down your breathing, you start to, and I'll just tell you, even though you're not asking, is that, and I'm not a medical professional, but I am a certified yoga teacher and a certified yoga for first responders instructor. That the science behind that is that when you slow down and you start to focus on just your breath, then the nerves that you engage from your torso up start to it tells your brain, literally it sends a chemical signal telling your brain, hey, we're okay. And your brain will say, oh, okay then. And then it releases all the good hormones and chemicals. And then that signal then travels down where it helps your whole body. So it's a scientific backed, like, proof that by doing this type of breathing, you can calm the F down when you need to and release stress. And then you can recreate, you can actually release trauma and stress just through breathing exercises.
I went to yoga one time and I had a bad experience.
Oh.
I relaxed too much. And
You fall asleep?
No. And it just didn't go well.
Okay.
I wasn't invited back. And
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Anyway, so I'm a little Neanderthal and cavemanish, but the reason I believe what you're saying, I got a physical a year ago, and he's like, you're borderline blood pressure, high blood pressure, borderline. I'm like, my thermostat's off. I just run a little hot. I'm good. I don't have high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So he had me get a thing.
Cuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get on medicine.
Right.
I'm fat and 51. I don't want to be on prescriptions.
Right.
And so I would take my blood pressure, and then I would do that 10-minute deal, and both numbers would be down like 15 points, 18 points, both numbers in 12 minutes. No BS.
Damn.
I'm telling you, it's scientifically proven that it works. And people think it's just breathing. It's so dumb. But it just, I even used it as attorneys on Friday the 13th when I was walking into court in New Orleans, and it had a huge case. I used to do asbestos litigation, and the case was worth millions or a couple million. And all the defendants, and it's like 20 defendants and me, and they're trying to get my expert disqualified. Well, they won. They got my expert. We took it to the Louisiana Supreme Court, and they overturned it. But that morning, I knew what I was up against, and I thought I was going to throw up. I was so nervous, but I did that, like in the cab, riding to the courthouse. I just was like, close my okay, I just have to breathe through this, because otherwise I was going to walk in there and not be able to speak. And so for many reasons, I mean, whether you just had a critical incident and you need to breathe, whether somebody was yelling in your face and you need to calm down. I mean, it works in so many. Your wife's having a menopause attack and she seems like she's going nuts, and you need to walk away and calm down before you react. I need the breathing exercise.
I need to download this app.
Yeah.
I think like a bunch of tier 1 folks are really getting into it too.
Yeah, they probably need to
get into a high speed deal and get your
for sure.
Get your focus and the breathing back in, and yeah, it's cool, man. I'm dead serious. I'm more Neanderthal than hippy dippy, but I'm a believer in.
I like the hippy dippy. I'm gonna steal that.
You can use it.
Thank you.
For free.
I get the whole Aaron Brockovich feel. I watched that yesterday morning.
Oh, really?
I did. Love the show. Sorry.
It's a show, not a movie? I mean, it's the movie.
It's a movie.
There's a show,
yeah.
too?
Well, okay, I'm from East Texas. Everything's a show to us.
Oh, okay.
That's a good show. That's a good program we watch.
Sorry. Well, is there anything else we didn't cover?
I don't think so.
I think we got everything.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire. You do it, because I always screw it up. I went backwards last time.
All right. Favorite drink of choice. Favorite cop movie or line from a cop movie. And favorite cop car.
Oh, I can answer 2 of the 3. Well, I guess 3. Favorite drink?
Drink of choice when you're going to relax.
Alcohol or non? Okay.
Alcohol. Yeah.
Whenever you're going to unwind on a weekend, what's
when your breathing's
go-to?
down?
I don't drink liquor. Like, I can do margaritas, but as I age, I can't drink as much sugary drinks, so I don't do that many margaritas anymore. But
what's your go-to? You need to chill and be hippy-dippy.
Wine or beer.
You said red or white and dry? What's your favorite one?
Yes, is the answer to that.
What's your favorite one?
Bubbles, Pinot Noir, or like a Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
Summertime, a rosé or a Sauvignon Blanc,
Yeah.
But before bed, I like to have a glass of red wine. Most nights.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed. It's
I'm in the
got
wine
antioxidants. It's healthy.
They say that. I agree, 100%. Second question was the favorite cop movie. I'm going to say, I joke around. People say, "What made you become a cop?" I say, "Well, I watched G.I. Jane, and I thought that was cool." That's.
Don't worry, Will Smith's not around.
Well, G.I. Jane with Demi Moore. I thought, well, if she can do 1-arm push-ups, I can too. And then I said, I'll just shave my head like she did. I didn't shave my head. And I always say no disrespect to all the Navy SEALs out there, because obviously I'm not trying to. That's legit. But anyway, and this is dating me. When that movie came out, women couldn't have tried out for the Navy SEALs. It wasn't allowed. But now you can. I'm not saying I would do that. I could also have a lot of opinions on. Well, I think the women in those roles, having been a female on SWAT team, we could have a long discussion about what that is.
Yeah.
Because I came out of it thinking, I don't think women should be on SWAT. I don't think women should be on the front line. I just think that it's just not possible. It's just apples and oranges. Men and women are just different. Now, I can say that, do I think it's right that you should be excluded just because you're female? But I just think that anybody who wants to be in one of those roles needs to go in that with eyes wide open.
Yeah.
Period.
I can see that.
Because it's just different. It's not better or worse. I think women can have strong roles in all of that. And having lived it, I can say, just know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
I also don't think men should be overly stupid. And we do have a female in there, like some of my counterparts.
Yeah.
We're overly stupid sometimes.
Yeah. And the third one is favorite cop car? I had an LTD. Ford LTD.
Ford LTD. Is that almost a Crown Vic?
It is almost
It's
a Crown
like
Vic.
almost a Crown Vic. Yeah, but
That was the boxy square one.
well, mine was almost like a bubble. I was a cop a long time ago, and mine was more of a bubble. And then I ended up getting the Crown Vic, especially when I came out of narcotics back to patrol briefly before I left. I had a Crown Vic.
The War Wagon.
Is there a better one?
Oh, yeah.
Just
According to
opinion.
Clint, there is.
Just
Yes.
opinion.
Which is what?
He likes the Crown Vic. The best police car ever made was the 94, 95 Chevrolet Caprice with the Corvette motor.
Wow, I definitely did not drive one of those. Who got to drive one of those? Somebody in traffic?
I did. We had them. That was our fleet. They were amazing.
Wow.
He only knows Crown Vic because he was born too late to have driven a good police car. Not everybody's fortunate.
I'm not even going to comment on that.
I can say my first one, anytime we would have a high speed pursuit, the engine got so hot, the car got so hot, and the AC couldn't keep up.
And the brakes.
I got out of it quickly. I mean, I went quickly into undercover, so I wasn't in that car that long. But yeah, I mean, I drove lots of different undercover cars. A lot of them not cool.
What currently? What is your firm name?
The Lady Law Shield. Thank you for asking.
Yes.
Where
Yes.
can people find you?
The Lady Law Shield Law Firm. It is ladylawshield.com, and that is all the ways to find me is from the website.
You can find the information out right here. We will put the information in our link.
Yeah.
There, if you're listening, we will put it on our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all into the description.
Lady Law.
Lady Law.
You need a reality show.
Yeah.
Lady Law.
Yeah. Clinton, you got anything else?
So, National Peace Officer Memorial in D.C., like 12 through 15.
May. Yeah. And then obviously our Tmpa FOP joint conference is going to be late July. Registration should be open by the time this podcast drops. We are hoping to push all that information out to you guys. Very much looking forward to seeing y'all there. It's like a big family reunion.
July 26th through 28th, Dallas Hyatt Regency
Yep.
Reunion Tower.
It's going to be a good time. Good time. Well, I think this about wraps it up. You got anything else, Big Dog?
Cannot thank you enough for coming on. We
Yep.
met at the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial event in Fort Worth.
The Hall of Fame
Hall of Fame.
induction.
Yes.
Yeah, that was amazing.
It was cool.
And got to visit, got to hang out a little bit, and glad we got to circle back on this.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
It was awesome.
Yep.
It was
Good
awesome.
times. Good times. Well, this about wraps this thing up. You guys take care. Stay safe. God bless you. And as always, may God bless Texas. We're out.